Today, because I'm doing a whole section on different sorts of pain, I wanted to talk about past life pain, and we can bring in those pains from past lives. Some people believe that we have future lives and present lives, and they're happening all at the same time. But regardless, I think if you do your work on other lives, past lives, I don't know, you can let go of the pain. When you go to someone who's quite psychic, they'll actually can see the other lives you've had, and where the pain came from. I was told, for example, I have trouble with my right leg and hip, and I was told that I was in battle as male, and I had like one of those round ball things, and it hit into my hip and smashed the whole hip, and I was like that for the rest of my life, and so it's a past life pain. Other people have been stabbed or knifed or attacked in certain ways, and it remains in the body because it has to be in the body energetically for someone who's psychic to see it. If it's not there, you won't see it. But because a psychic person will see it, that means it's still there and you can release it. I don't know if it's necessary to know all the different pains. I think it's better we don't know all the different pains sometimes. But you might, when you start doing this work, start to have a few flashbacks. So if you do, that's what that's all about. And the past life pain can come in and then actually make you vulnerable. That's why I'm doing all these different sorts of pains, because this one isn't a pain that you'll particularly maybe feel. However, in this present life, you might be very fragile in that area. For example, if you died of tuberculosis, or if you had a heart attack and you've had a lot of heart attacks, this life your heart and your lungs will be more vulnerable. So you need to look after them. And by letting go of the pain that you're still carrying, you energetically free up those organs or those areas in your body. That's why it's actually really important, because you're carrying that energy, and it's usually not a good energy, it's a bit negative, I think. And it also can block things. If you've had many hits in certain areas of your body, that will be like an energetic block there. So when you let go of the past life pain, that will help you to free up the whole area and the energy can flow better. The best way to do it is to recognise that some of these are past life, and the pain's also go into areas like addictions, and or they can go into areas like phobias, fears. If you drowned one life, you might actually be frightened of being in the water. I know of some people who had these weird things where they couldn't get in the shower and they couldn't have the water running on them, and that was because they were killed in the showers, and the shower water came and they died in those places. So they have that memory. And it seems to me that the closer you've come in to the next life, and haven't dealt with it because you maybe didn't get time to deal with it, then you bring it in. It's like old stuff, old baggage from the last life or a few other last lives. I found it really, really fascinating. I saw pictures when I would read people, and I still do. I can see the past life where they died, and how they died, and then you can correlate that to where they're having trouble in that part of their body, and if they can release it and do some healing work around that and let that life go, that energy isn't with them anymore. And that the other thing is that you don't take it for life after life after life. You actually can let it go. I think it's fairly advanced work. Not everyone will even believe in that we've had other lives or in reincarnation, but we do, because otherwise a reader wouldn't be able to see the lives, would they? And I know that you probably, if you look around your house, you'll probably see where you've been. If you've got Egyptian things in there, or you've got things from Tibet, or you maybe got Native American Indian things. I would say that that's where your lives have been. It's usually to do with the death or a very big injury that lasted and became like a legacy. So you could have been killed by being shot or stabbed. Someone I know saw, like, they could still see the spear, big long spear in this other person. It was going through from the front to the back, and that person had trouble in those two areas. Now, that was a past life one. Sometimes people can actually see the implement, like they'll see the knife in the person, or they'll see the sword in the person. They'll just see it, or they'll see that their hands have been cut off, whatever they saw, or the hanging, or the burnings. People who can tune in this way will be able to validate those lives for you. If you don't remember or know any of your lives, it's okay too, because just the intention that you are, as a soul now, saying, I'm going to release any pain I've got from any past life. Sometimes the pains come up to it the same time as it happened in the other life. For example, if you perhaps, I don't know, you drowned when you were 36 and you were in the Mediterranean, and you go to the Mediterranean this life, you might be scared to go in the water. This seems completely ridiculous, and that's part of your phobia, but you might actually continue that and have the pain in your throat of when you were drowning. So because when we die, we have these pains, and they're in certain parts of the body, and they can stay in the body as residual energy. The other thing you can look at doing is going through a past life regression. There's lots of really good tapes you can get, and lots of people actually do that work. You might find that very interesting, to go back and then release within going back. I think once you recognise it, once you know what it is, like, you then can go and do the work on it, because it all makes sense. Like when I was told about the thing in my hip, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense, because it's nowhere else in my body except there and down my leg. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's why I have that vulnerability. So I need to be more careful, and I've done a lot of work on that, obviously, to try and release it. Go in, do the tapping, do the work that works for you. If you do the hypnotizing or how you meditation, do the healing. I think the intention, in my opinion, to let it go is always great too, because if you hold on to it, you'll bring it in the next life, for example. It's interesting too how people can bring in that past life pain and not know why they're having that pain. And that pain can also be emotional and mental pain. They don't know why they have it, but it can be coming from other lives. For example, if you have the pain of depression, which is actually a pain, to be depressed is a pain, it could be that in some of your other lives you lived a very depressing life and you had a very terrible life, and you couldn't really resolve it in that life and you passed over, but you brought that in with you. So I think that's also something you might want to look at, how you're responding to your life in this life. Don't think of pain as just being physical. That's what I'm trying to say. It can come from many different places, and you'll find this really interesting. I think some of those past life things that people do are really good, whether you're walking down the road and walking along, and then you look at your feet and you see what sort of sandals you've got on, and you get yourself into that life, and then you can ask the questions. The other thing is too, don't forget, you can ask with your pendulum. You can also ask with kinesiology. You can ask if that pain's past life. With kinesiology, it will be good for you to ask, because the body remembers everything it knows. Even though we're in a new body, we are energetically still the same soul. We'll know that. And if you can find a good psychic, they will actually be able to tune in and find out where the pain was. For example, I've sort of seen one lady who had a lot of pain in one area of the body, and I saw why. Then I could tell her that you died this way and you suffered this way, so she could then release it. All this just helps. The past life stuff is real, even in those people think it might not be, and I think that the more credit we give to it as being part of who we are now, the more we can do the healing on ourselves, because it's part of who we are now. I'm not just Wendy, I'm a whole lot of other lives in this aura of mine that I brought in. As much as I brought in gifts and things I can do and attributes and whatever, and personality and behaviour, I've actually also brought in some of that damage, I'd call it. That's what I'd call it, that I didn't resolve for whatever reason. And this life, we can resolve it. I think you'll find this really interesting. I find this very interesting. Keep doing the work. Keep letting it go. I think if you're on this channel, you probably know quite a lot of intuitives. Sometimes it's good to ask other people if they'll tune in and see if they get anything for you, because it's easy to hear it. It's actually a little bit harder to access yourself. However, that can actually just prompt that memory, and then you can go and do the work on it. When you have time, off you go and do some past life pain release, because it's a pain we don't really have to carry anymore. That life's actually finished, and we will be better off without that energy. So I'm sending you lots of love and lots of light, and we'll talk soon.